What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Inside the Force. Dave Cottingham here with my partner in crime, Casey Cooley.
Hello, everybody. Hello.
I think, actually, I was just noticed, I think this is a little bit of a rarity, you both wearing Inside the Force shirts. Usually it's one or the other, or I've got we've got different Star Wars shirts on. That's not totally intentional, but
a lot of logos right now, probably on your screen if you're watching this on YouTube.
Logo here, correct. Sorry,
logo, and logo somewhere else.
Actually, we've got a new recording setup here. We're doing something else. We're using a different platform. So actually, this records this side by side. So I think you're over here.
And you're over there.
Yeah. But there's a nice little overlay that we created. It's pretty nice. The title's up here, and then the name of the episode down there. So anyway, trying some different things out. Wanted to test it out. Cool. Actually tested it out with Corey this weekend with council sessions. And it worked out pretty well. So I think this is kind of going to be this. So you're seeing more of my set now. You're the widescreen, just like you're wide now.
Yeah, not much. No, I'm not really decorated here.
Anyway, those of you on the audio, go check us out on YouTube. You can see what we're talking about. But thanks for joining us. Episode 303 here, Inside the Force. So. Several things of news to get into before we break down and talk about a big topic that I think we've hit on a few times, but of course, Clone Wars, ending. We want to and the big announcement with the Bad Batch, which we'll get into. We really want to get into some what other stories coming out of there that we'd like to see. Maybe it's not animated, but and I think we've mentioned a little bit about novels and stuff like that. There is a novel coming out, but it's more about some retellings, not necessarily new stories. But anyway, the first thing I want to mention what dropped today, which is July 21st, the Doctor Aphra audiobook, which a lot of people have been looking forward to. It's not a written novel yet. Very similar to Dooku Jedi Lost that came out last year. This is an audio drama book that dropped. You can, I'm sure, get on Audible or wherever you can. Are there other audio places? I guess there are audiobook places.
There are. There are.
I think audiobook, and it's like Kleenex. Audible.com is like the only place
they coined it. Yeah, they kind of coined that term. It seems like.
So Doctor Aphra, so that's out there, full cast. I've heard great things about it so far online today. So I haven't checked it out yet, but I will get into that. I got to probably mow the grass tomorrow, so I'll start it. And actually, I was going to look it up. I was curious how long it is. But what do you? When are you going to be able to dive into this thing?
I'm not sure. I mean, I thought I'd try to go in order. Like, I need to get through Shadowfall, but Prophet Squadron. But I may skip it for now. Who knows? And kind of go straight to Doctor Aphra. But like you, it's like I can only do it like now even more sparingly, just because I'm not by myself, like an isolated car, or I'm because you mow the grass. It's about the only thing I do now that requires. Something
mowing the grass and driving in town to get some food or something like that.
Exactly.
I can, But so it's only it's 5.5 hours.
Oh wow!
So I can get through that a couple mows.
That's a big yard. It takes them close to an hour to do my entire front backyard. Cool.
Yeah, it takes every bit of an hour and a half for me. Yeah. So. About 3 mows I can get through.
Cool.
So I feel like I'll knock that out. I feel like I want to knock that out before I finish up Shadowfall. I still got a ways to go in Shadowfall. But I'm interested in this because all we know of Dr. Aphra right now is illustrations from the comic books. She's a very popular character for being just introduced in the new canon. She was introduced in Darth Vader #3 back in 2015. She has her own series now. Her first volume just finished up, and her second volume is starting here shortly. So she's got a lot of attention. She's got a lot of followers. Of course, rumors have been swirling around that she could show up in The Mandalorian, because her time frame right now is around the original trilogy. But I don't know, Case, where does, I know you haven't read a lot of the comic books, but I mean, I don't know, where does what you know of her, where does your interest lie of her, and how excited are you about getting stories from her?
I'm they're definitely interested. I'm excited just because she is a new character. It's such an interesting place for her because she's thrown into the loop with Darth Vader, and it's like every issue that I was reading, I'm like, well, she's gotta die. She's gonna look at Vader wrong, and he's just gonna kill her.
Yeah.
But no, like it's incredible. Continue to get surprised by these characters and their survival. So I'm excited that she's survived, and they're still finding ways to keep her around.
Mm-hmm.
And this is I believe a retelling of some of those stories, right?
Right.
It's with some new. I think it's got a little bit of new.
I think there's a little bit of new, right?
A little bit of new content. But yeah, the first time we'll hear her voice, and if she's in Mandalorian, then they've already shot something with her, because I like to think like this would have been a good case. It's like another way to push Dr. Aphra into a little more mainstream, where it's like she was comic books, now she's audio, so we hear her in the next, we'll actually see her on screen, perhaps. That seems like a logical progression for her.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see her on screen eventually. I think that's where kind of Star Wars is headed in general. Like they're just gonna take some leaps and bring up these characters that we've only seen either in small screen or books. Mandalorian will very well might see Ahsoka or something like that, but I don't think it's too in the Squadron's game. We're seeing Hera in game format for the first time, and Admiral Sloane for the first time. So it's only a matter of time, I think, before we see characters like that on the big screen, which is hugely exciting, that possibility. So Aphra, I'm very excited. I want more the merrier.
Yeah, it's hard to say though, because it's always a risk that if you throw her in something like Mandalorian, how many people are actually going to recognize her or know who it is? Mm-hmm. I mean, it does give people a chance to go research her.
That's all you need. I think you just need a little. I mean, just a little thing.
Yeah, but you even though I think a majority of us fans loved it, but you did run into a little bit of backlash when Darth Maul showed up in Solo, because everybody's like, wait a minute, this guy was dead. Last I saw of him, because I only saw him in episode 1. Mm-hmm. So, I think that if you do intro her into live action, say Mandalorian, you've got to still add some background with her. You've got to show some kind of history with her to really establish her character, even though you've done it in the comics. But it's definitely doable, and I think people will welcome it.
I think it could be an episode like in Mandalorian season 1. I guess it was episode 6, the heist episode.
Mm-hmm.
It's one episode we got introduced to a whole team of people.
True.
And we got some backstory. It was like, to me, it was like that was like the perfect balance of like some backstory, and you were kind of taught that backstory throughout the episode, and for each of those characters. So it's like if Aphra was just in one episode and she played a role like any of those characters, especially the Twilight characters, it's like it's that kind of very mysterious villainous kind of background. You're not quite sure who they are, and so if Aphra is kind of presented like that, but you're right, it's like enough to spark research of that character, and then a push to be like, oh, like then she needs a lot more. She needs her own show. She needs more content that on TV or whatever. So people hopefully will find that out and
Yeah.
kind of speak that into truth.
Right. And again, this is I think this story is from her first introduction series, which is the Vader series. But it is out now, July 21st. Lots of big names attached. Of course, you still got your Mark Thompsons and all that stuff in there, but some great. I think this is written by Sarah Kuhn. So go see that or listen to that in a way. And I will keep saying this over and over. I mean, the audiobooks, Star Wars audiobooks are just incredible. It's like listening to a movie. Again, a lot of it does have to do with the story, but if you can, if you're into one of those stories, it's hard to stop listening to these things. They're fantastic. So, a little bit. I'll throw this over to you. I think we got an important, semi-important. I guess there's some things that are going to be revealed at Comic-Con at home this weekend, right?
Yeah, hopefully. So you'll be listening to this or watching this the day. Yeah, if you're watching this on Wednesday. So Wednesday the 22nd is when Comic-Con at home starts. I think it's a 6-day event, 5 or 6-day event, but I'll look. I have the programming up right here. So, yeah, it starts tomorrow on Wednesday, and it ends. I mean, scrolling through this list of programming is insane. But the last day is Sunday, so 5 days there. But
normal days sounds like
yeah. But Friday is the day that Lucasfilm Publishing will have a few panels. And it seems like that's the only major presence Star Wars will have is through Lucasfilm Publishing. And again, it's all on Friday. So one of the panels actually is about Doctor Aphra, about the audiobook. You have Friday at 11 a.m. And I do believe that is Eastern time. I can double check that. Because even though it's all in California. Pacific time. Sorry, 11 a.m. Pacific time. So that's Friday.
2:00 here.
Yeah. But it's all on YouTube. If you go to comic-con.org, you should be able to find the programming, and they have all the links there to watch all these panels. But yeah, so 11 a.m. Pacific time will be a audiobook panel about Dr. Aphra. And you'll have some of the narrators, some of the actors, and the author, editors will just be talking about adapting it. And then later that day is the one that I am excited about, very excited, at noon, 12 p.m. Pacific time, so around 3 p.m. Eastern, is a Lucasfilm Publishing Stories from a Galaxy Far, Far Away. And this is the big panel. They'll talk about the books, and I'll read the blurb here if I can again scroll through this massive list of programming here. Lucasfilm Publishing. So yeah, some of the biggest Star Wars authors talk about the new projects. Timothy Zahn, who's I'm sure he'll be talking about the new Thrawn books. Alex Segura. So a lot of these authors are from the High Republic, and that's where a lot of the swirling buzz is happening, because everybody's wanting new information about High Republic. So he has Alex Segura, Justina Ireland will be there, George Mann, Preeti Chibber, if I'm pronouncing that right. I don't believe I am, but I apologize. Tom Engelberger, Rebecca Roanhorse, Greg Pak, Greg Pak, Alyssa Wong will be there. Kristen Baver is moderating it. Kristen Baver from This Week in Star Wars. And she'll be hosting it along with Lucasfilm Publishing Senior Editor Robert Simpson. So that is sure to be a hopefully jam-packed panel. It's only an hour long, though, so unless they're going to just kind of rattle off a bunch of this is coming out, and give us a nice stack of tidbits for the High Republic, so that's what everybody really, I think, wants to hear is more High Republic, and you have a few authors
Yes.
there from it. So, unfortunately, Charles doesn't say Charles Soule will be there, or any of the other major Star Wars authors right now, like Alexander Freed, Zoraida Cordova. So, like, no, it doesn't seem like they'll be there, but we'll still
Claudia
have
Gray.
you still have a few from Claudia Gray's writing High Republic, and she's not part of this group. Didn't seem like so, but still, hopefully it'll be a very enlightening time. So again, that's Friday, 3 p.m. Eastern time on YouTube. And I don't know. Let me go to this link because I'm not sure if it's an actual channel. I mean, I assume it's a Comic-Con channel. Let me double check here.
Yeah, nothing from. It doesn't seem like in a way there's not going to be any big Lucasfilm announcements.
No.
Or Disney's not even. Disney and Marvel don't really have any presence there either. Mm-hmm. So it looks like the publishing side is the only thing we're getting.
Yeah. I can't tell what channel it's going to be on, but it's just go to comic-con.org and you should find the programming list there.
Yeah, Tracy Lucasfilm, PR tweeted the other day. I think it was either yesterday or Sunday, but it was the 2-year anniversary of the debut of the Clone Wars trailer. That announcement, it was at Comic-Con.
2 years.
Yeah, it was at Comic-Con when we all found out that Clone Wars was coming back, and I remember that. I was so one of the happiest days, man. It was so good. But it doesn't seem like we're going to get anything like that this year. So
no, unfortunately not. I don't know. I mean, I can't think of what another event would be where they could announce something like that. It may just come randomly, if some announcement of a new show or a new animated show, something like that. Very much like Bad Batch was randomly announced.
Yeah. Well, and you're right. I think you've got to pivot now because you've probably had all this news bottled up for Celebration, and that's not happening. So I think we're going to slowly get some announcements publishing this week. It's got to be some kind of Mandalorian teaser, maybe dropping later this month or sometime in August. But along those lines about the publishing, I'll run through this list again that we kind of talked about last week. But with Doctor Aphra dropping today, next week, you've got a new Star Wars book that was the sequel to Myths and Legends. You got a book called Dark Legends, Myths and Fables. Called Dark Legends coming out next week. That's July 28th. You've got Free Fall, which is the Poe Dameron books, coming out August 4th. You got the Clone Wars stories that we were talking about. That comes out August 25th. Thrawn Ascendancy is September 1st. The Empire Strikes Back version of From a Certain Point of View is November 10th. You got Mandalorian, the new novel from The Mandalorian, coming December 1st. And then next year you get into the High Republic series that we talked about. January 5th is a couple of those books, Light of the Jedi, Test of Courage. So you've got a pretty steady stream of novels, not including the comics that are going to start hitting shelves again in August. So, it's funny because we just mentioned about Aphra being a new character and whatnot. I just ordered. I got the trade in the other day of Star Wars TIE Fighter, which was the 5-issue series, companion series almost to Alphabet Squadron. And I read that the other night, and I was kind of thinking that same thing where, and I actually got a couple trades in. I got a couple of the Poe Dameron series books, and I was kind of paging through those. I mean, there are so many characters now. I mean, every one of these comics introduces a whole slew of new characters.
Yeah.
especially during the Star Wars series and during the Vader series, because you're during the original trilogy still, and you're meeting all kinds of new rebels and all new Imperials. The Poe Dameron series, it takes place before Episode 7, but there's the whole squadron, Black Squadron, that you're learning from. You got First Order characters. I mean, it's crazy how many characters there are now, and it just opens it up for even more stories. Yeah, so I don't know how you can. Oh man, I mean, I know it's their job to keep that continuity together, but man, as fans, it is it is getting very difficult for us to get to know and really retain all of this content.
Yeah, I mean that's I think I mentioned this to you the other day just offline, but like it's gonna be my goal, like in an ideal world, where like every year I can just revisit a lot of these books and comics and audiobooks just to keep it fresh in my head, because otherwise I'm gonna forget so much. I mean, like with the Legends canon, I mean it's been years obviously since I've read a Legends book, but I mean I retain, I feel like, the gist of a lot of what I read back in the day, but there's so many characters. And when I did the council sessions with Cody, we talked about Legends and then the current canon. I mean, we kind of went through some numbers, like how many stories. I mean, there's obviously hundreds and hundreds of Legends stories written.
Yeah.
But they had, a couple decades, to fill that.
Yeah.
And then now we're only at 5 years, 6 years, into, I forget, like,
well, no, 5 years. Yeah.
I think April
2014. You're right. Yeah.
I think yeah. So, about 6 years now of new canon, and it's ramping up, definitely. Like we're quickly building this vast library of books, characters, comics, everything. So it's catching up.
You're right, because I've got all the novels. You can see some of them back there. I'm slowly buying most of the trades, but I was just thinking that, like, 2 years from now, am I going to have room for all these books? I mean, there's a lot of novels coming out. I mean, I just read several that are coming still the rest of this year, so it's not like we're getting 1 or 2 novels a year. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I mean, there's 9 coming in the next few months, so that's a lot and then you got comics coming out. We're going to be loaded on Disney Plus here soon. It's like, you almost have to, and maybe that's a topic we should talk about at some point, but what if you're, what's a realistic Star Wars fan? Like what does it make sense to just focus on a couple mediums more so, or do you really try to gather all? Because that's the thing too, is not only do you even want to possibly gather it and read it all, or it's hard because it costs money. I mean, it's hard to buy all these books or buy all these comics and go to the movies and pay for Disney Plus. I mean, I understand all that. That's how you're able to get more content, right? People are paying for it. So, but I get it. It can get pricey to buy these books and to do these things. And you just gotta. At least my advice would be, I always try to look for deals. And that's what I'm constantly doing with the trades, especially because I get the individual comics on digital, but then I buy the trades, the collection, and I have them all. What I do is funny. I don't even know if I told you this, but I have a Star Wars book list on Amazon, and every couple of weeks or so, I'll just pay attention and see if I have, because you can pre-order some. And I just basically find all the trades and load them on this list, and I'll just keep an eye on them, because there's, as well as, Amazon, all of a sudden there's like a 30% price drop and then I'll grab it, and I'll wait till it's like what I think is the lowest price on that thing. And usually you can grab these trades for $9, $10, whereas it's a collection of comics that, 6 issues at $3 a piece, that's $18, $20 you're paying if you're buying them individually. So anyway, just a little tidbit out there of how I buy my trades.
A little life hack.
Yeah. And then of course, Amazon has always got the cheapest prices on the whole novels and everything too. But anyway, that's a lot of stuff out there and a lot of characters. Some real quick rumor news. Don't want to hang too much on this, but Hayden Christensen's making the rounds again. There's some reports out there that they're pretty positive he is definitely coming and showing up in the Obi-Wan series. There is a rumor also that there's going to be flashbacks to the Clone Wars, which explains Hayden showing up. So, I mean, we've talked about that. I think that's possible. Obviously,
yes, possible. Super, super exciting.
Yeah, I think it's. I think if you pull that off, you're catering to a ton of Star Wars fans. I want to see that.
I mean,
for sure.
And gosh, I mean, because we talked about something like this for Mandalorian. I feel like where we were like theorizing about. I think we were theorizing about like the flashback, Mando's flashbacks as a kid. We thought, oh, maybe it's a Clone Wars. Maybe we'll see all these characters. And I was thinking like, well, the craziest thing would be to see Obi-Wan, Anakin, and Ahsoka like Clone War era. But it's like that could happen in this show. It's like that could happen in Obi-Wan. You could see this insanely awesome flashback. But it's funny because there was a tweet, someone, I don't know where the photo came from, but a recent photo of Ewan McGregor, and he's got long hair. He's got the Obi-Wan beard, so he looks like he's gearing up to start shooting finally. And I just can't believe we're finally here. Like, this is what we've been saying since the beginning, an Obi-Wan story, and now we're finally gonna get it.
Yeah. And I hope, because there was a rumor floating around for a little while there that it's possible we could see Jar Jar again at some point, right? I mean, if we flash back to the Clone Wars, he's there still. Yeah, so that could be truth to that as well. So, okay, but let's talk about Bad Batch. So, like you said earlier, this news somewhat dropped out of nowhere. It was last week when they announced it. Clone Force 99 is going to be returning. It will debut on Disney Plus in 2021. In our experience of going to Star Wars Celebration and sitting in on all those talks with Dave Filoni and Pablo Hidalgo as they revisit, the Clone Wars, we learned in there a lot. And I remember you were there for several of them too. They typically have a year's worth of content done prior to the debut, right? I mean, I gotta feel like they've been working on this for a little while. I think we both kind of in agreement that whatever animated series was going to be announced, they've had to have been doing something for this, right?
Yeah, especially Bad Batch. It seems like it would be even more in that vein because these are characters we've now already know about. So a lot of these stories that might come out of the show might be just unused Clone Wars stories a little, because maybe there might have been a series of episodes that Filoni had kind of outlined that followed the Bad Batch a little bit more, that were never maybe fully developed, obviously. That maybe that's so I definitely believe that there's already a nice trove of work already done, whether it's scripts already written, all this stuff, or previs or animatics, or maybe they already recorded a lot of stuff with D. Bradley Baker. I don't know. I wouldn't be surprised, if this has already been kind of pushed down the line quite a bit before this announcement was made. But the talk is that it will be at least a kind of a new. I don't know if it's how solid of a lead this is, where it's talked about. Maybe it's in the press release. I can't remember, but like there may be a new style of animation for this show, or people are talking like it's either a hope or a dream that this would kind of stand apart, because every animation series so far has had its own unique stamp, and this is kind of like a Clone Wars spin-off, so I can see it looking a lot like Clone Wars, but season 7 looks really nice, and so it might at least look like that, and then just even better in some way. Maybe it's more motion capture type how they did the fights, but yeah, so I'm definitely excited to see all this.
Yeah. So the summary, like you just mentioned, the series follows the elite and experimental clones of the Bad Batch as they find their way in a rapidly changing galaxy in the immediate aftermath of the Clone Wars. Members of Bad Batch, a unique squad of clones who vary genetically from their brothers in the clone army, each possess a singular exceptional skill, which makes them extraordinarily effective soldiers and a formidable crew. In the post-Clone War era, they will take on daring mercenary missions as they struggle to stay afloat and find new purpose. You mentioned other stories. One particular story that I know they were part of was the Crystal Crisis on Utapau. That was a what they call it, animatics. They released the animatics of that 4-part series a long time ago when the Clone Wars was first canceled. I could see them finishing that and including that in this series. Even though that's during the Clone Wars, you can easily have a flashback.
Refit it a little bit,
yeah. Or you could just have a flashback with somebody, talking about what happened there, and because I was very interested in that story. it was hard to get through with animatics, but but they finished out the other Bad Batch series that was animatic. Yeah. So it would make sense that they would do this one. But of course, a lot of questions were who's going to helm this thing. You do have, of course, executive produced by Filoni. You've got Athena Portillo, who worked on Clone Wars and Rebels. And then you got Brad Rao, who worked on Rebels and Resistance. And then Jennifer Corbett, who worked on Resistance. And then, of course, Carrie Beck, who's a very popular producer there with Rebels and then Mandalorian. Then you got co-executive producer Josh Rhimes, and Brad Rao is also serving as supervising director, and Corbett is the head writer. So, but anything Filoni is involved, it's going to be. But I think a part of what you mentioned, let's see, Agnes Chu, vice president of content for Disney Plus, said, giving new and exciting fans the final chapter of the Clone Wars has been our honor at Disney Plus, and we are overjoyed by the global response to this landmark series. While the Clone Wars may have come to its conclusion, our partnership with the groundbreaking storytellers and artists at Lucasfilm Animation is only beginning. We are thrilled to bring Dave Filoni's vision to life through the next adventures of the Bad Batch. So definitely sounds like there's plenty more animations to come, not just this animation series.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, they wouldn't give him that title of like kind of like this, like it almost like they've given that title of like you're knowing like you're going to be in charge of many more animated shows and I guess live action shows too with Mandalorian. So hopefully that's happening.
I know. Yeah, I can only imagine his schedule right now as far as overseeing all this stuff. But I feel like if anybody wants to do it, it's him. He sounds like I feel like he just wants to be around Star Wars and do it justice. So, go get him, Filoni.
I know. Yeah.
Okay, so before we jump into our main topic, just a little update I wanted to mention for Inside the Forest in a way. We did just put out our next episode of Council Sessions. Master Ku, Corey Cooley, and I discussed Darth Maul. We asked the question lingering in the galaxy, who is Darth Maul, right? Like, is he a Sith? Is he now considered just a crime lord? Mm-hmm. You know, we never expected to get many stories of him. Do we need more stories of him? Stuff like that. So we had a pretty good discussion to get that. You can go check that out on our YouTube channel. It's youtube.com/Inside the Force. But we have been working on, and Casey and I pretty much come to the conclusion that we got 2 other series that we're going to be putting on a YouTube channel. So there's going to be basically 4 series of videos that you're going to be able to get on there. Of course, you're going to get our weekly show here, Inside the Force, on there. You've got Council Sessions. You've got 2 other series. I don't want to fully reveal the names right now until we debut them. But one of them will be focused on, similar to what we just talked about, previous to the Bad Batch, is all the extended content, right? All the expanded universe stuff, basically. Books, comics, games. You know, we'll kind of dive into those stories and talk about those and review that content. We are going to be doing our first one hopefully this week, and get that out there. And we've already discussed that we were kind of focusing on and revisiting the book that just came out a few months ago, which is Queen's Peril. I think we're all big fans of that book. E. Kane Johnson has done a great job with that character, Padme, and we definitely want to talk about that and offer our opinions about where that could go, and of course probably talk a little bit about Queen Shadow, which started that whole thing off. And then our other series is going to be focused on getting some interviews done with mm-hmm. some content creators, you know. So we'll get that going, and just stay tuned on all of our social channels as well as YouTube. Go over there and hit that subscribe button if you can, and we'll put some more regular stuff out there. And yeah, now I was going to get into the weeds of how we came, but once we get all the names out there and everything, then we'll get into how we came up with that kind of stuff. But so looking forward to that. A lot of discussions going on there. Mm-hmm. A lot of stuff we can talk about. Okay, so to get into our last topic here of this episode, piggybacking off a little bit of the announcement of the Bad Batch, I started thinking about what other stories, you know, because this Bad Batch, with that taking place directly after episode 3, you know, right now, the only thing I can think of that we got directly after episode 3 was the Vader comic, written by Charles Soule, that directly continued after episode 3. I mean, the first scene in that comic is him, Vader, rising from the bench, the medical bench, and then going after and discovering, finding his lightsaber and whatnot. So we are getting another story here that's taking place after episode 3 to see what happens with Bad Batch. I have a feeling that we'll probably get, you know, Rex will probably pop up, maybe Wolf and Gregor, and maybe Ahsoka, stuff like that. But then I think we just talked about before we started recording, is I think we did have a show previously that talked about what stories we'd like to see between 3 and 4. But I'm more or less thinking now, with the conclusion of the Clone Wars and not fully getting every story that I think Filoni wanted to tell, right? Because we know about some storylines that didn't get told. Well, first off, I know you're excited about Bad Batch, but if you were to go back and look at all those stories and all those characters, I mean, which, you know, Disney Plus comes to you and said, do something from the Clone Wars, what storyline would you have thought about doing, or what characters would you have wanted to extend?
I mean, I think I would have an answer, but honestly, I think it would be the wrong answer. I probably would have said either an Ahsoka animated show or a Boba Fett animated show. Which would be a lot of news stories that we haven't heard because we only know of one arc of Boba Fett that wasn't told yet. But honestly, yeah, we've talked a lot just kind of through texting and through talking to each other, but about our thoughts of Bad Batch and how it's like, not exactly what we expected to happen. It makes sense though because they were popular characters from season 7. But honestly, just hearing you talk about it, I do think the smartest decision probably was Bad Batch, only if it pays off by finishing these other stories. I read a lot of rumors. There's already a lot of rumors about the direction this show is going to go. It very well might answer this question of Wolf and Gregor. It might bring us into the underworld. Who knows? There's a lot of potential. Is the rumor? So I'm kind of running with that, thinking like that. If I had time to think about it, really, that probably would be what I would say is the best way to go. Is use Bad Batch in this new world of Star Wars, meaning in universe world of Empire controlling everything. Like the Bad Batch, if they haven't, because I don't think it's been talked about. Like do they have their chip? I can't remember if they have their chips or if that's one reason.
Yeah, we don't know what happened during Order 66 with them. Yeah.
So
which would be a cool way to start the series.
Exactly. Yeah. I mean, it sounds like very much obviously that they find a way to get past the chip. So they're kind of off on their own again. So there's definitely potential to have these guys be kind of mercenaries in a way, finding their new role in this world, and that could lead them into Crimson Dawn. It could lead them to the Partisans and Saw Gerrera, Enfys Nest. It could lead them to the smuggler world. It could lead them to working with finding the way back to Ahsoka, and being almost like yet another pre-Rebel cell before we get, Kanan and Hera. So there's a lot of potential. I think there's a lot of room to finish those stories because we're talking about the stories of Boba Fett. The Bad Batch could run into Boba Fett, and Cad Bane and Aura Singh and those characters again. So, I think there's great potential that with Bad Batch you could bring in so much more, because I can't think of what the show would be about otherwise besides these guys, just different adventures, these guys getting hired to do a job here, then moving on from job to job to job, which seems fine. It's like it's just it's like the Clone Wars. Each episode's a new battle. Each episode is these guys getting into something else. It just so happens maybe one or two arcs a season. It's it ropes in a major character, that kind of tells another story that Filoni has always wanted to tell. So that's my new thought. I didn't think of that until just kind of now. So I'm more excited now hearing you talk about it and me just thinking about it. But if it doesn't happen, then you know what? I don't know. I wouldn't have chosen Bad Batch then. I don't know. I would think of something that seems more obvious. And those obvious choices again would be Ahsoka or Boba Fett. But obviously Filoni's smarter than I am, so I'm sure he has has his methods, has his ways.
Yeah, and he has a way of especially with like Rebels, you just after watching the first few episodes of that, you would have never expected that series to
for sure
end up where it did with Maul and with World Between Worlds and
oh my gosh,
Yoda and all,
Palpatine,
so Palpatine, Filoni somehow is going to work in Jedi. Again, Ahsoka could show up, but I think there could be something else that, like the Darksaber, where's the Darksaber at right now? So I am intrigued by with the Bad Batch where that can go, and I definitely feel like we need to know what happened. How did Rex get McGregor and Wolf and get their chips, and I think that would make sense. Therefore, leading a little bit more into Rebels, from there. But I would, I think going back to look at these characters and stories, and I agree with you. I think the obvious choices would be to do an extended animated series with Ahsoka, what happened to her, how she got into being. I mean, we kind of learned that in the novel, her novel.
Yeah.
That's a year. I think it's a year or two after episode 3. You've got Boba Fett, like you said. We know how he ends up in the original trilogy, obviously. But where does he, when does that exchange with Cad Bane happen? And I am actually really interested in, and maybe there's not a full story yet there about this because it's so early prior to episode 4. But I'm actually, a lot of people might not like my response here but I'm actually a little interested in how Palpatine still deals and addresses the Senate.
I know, absolutely.
He is the Emperor. I mean, he is called the Emperor right away. They've elected him Emperor.
Yeah.
Like, you're the leader from however long you want to be here. And of course, there's plenty of people in the Senate, like Bail, like Mothma, that are completely against what's happening. And, that's why I keep always saying I want those deleted scenes from episode 3 back in, where they're basically starting the rebellion, right? So I'd love to see that part of it with Mothma and Bail and how they start laying the groundwork, even though we know now with Rebels that the actual alliance doesn't happen until years later. But there are these cells going on. I think you could, in that series too, you have Saul Guerrera, and you see how you see what Mothma was talking about in Rogue One, where our ideals, maybe they were on the same path together, but then they somehow started splitting, where Mothma wanted to do it the right way and secretly, whereas Saul just wanted to go out there and just start war and blow up and kill everybody, right? So you have those two conflicting. I think those are good stories right there to tell. And you could have Bail or somebody, maybe another surviving Jedi, and maybe they're trying to find other surviving Jedis to, I don't know. It's just all. I think there's a lot there on the beginning, true beginnings of the rebellion.
Yeah.
That's where I would like to. I've always been intrigued by Mon Mothma, because you remember in the original trilogy, we only got one scene of her really, and you just never really knew who she was, and it was amazing. You always kind of felt like Leia was leading the rebellion, but Mothma was the one, and she has this big history. And unfortunately, we never got to meet Bail in the original trilogy, but so she's always been an interest to me, and how she got into it, how she started, and so anything with Mothma, I'm glad they brought her in Rebels, and I'm glad they recasted her, put her in Rogue One. So I'd like to see more of her. I feel like, I was kind of a long-winded.
One thing I was thinking though, like a potential random thought, like a potential story for Bad Batches. It would be cool if one episode you find that someone is trying to hunt down the Bad Batch and actually attack them and like kill them, and turns out it's a Jedi in hiding who sees them that they're clones.
Oh yeah.
After them. So then maybe turn of events, he actually then teams up with them, and they whatever mission that they eventually go on. Because I'm with you. I definitely think there has to be a Jedi element somehow. Just maybe not the whole show, but just to kind of answer the question and just kind of keep in everybody's back of their mind that there's still some Jedi out there.
Yes.
maybe they come across an Inquisitor, I don't know, that is hunting a Jedi, and they help the Jedi defeat the Inquisitor. I don't know, so it's I think there's a lot of potential because you're right. There's not just questions necessarily about. There's not as many questions probably about like the Clone Wars characters. There's Wolf Gregor, not really with Ahsoka, like you said, because that's pretty much covered with the book and Rebels. But yeah, the questions of the galaxy as a whole. Palpatine, what's he? How's he? Which is we get a little bit of that. I feel like through other perspectives of the Emperor. It's like,
yes.
Either it's a rumor. Does he have Sith powers or doesn't he? Or, just his appearance in general is controlled to the public. Like they see him a certain way, not as this always wrinkled, scary looking guy, unless you're close to him and you're in the throne room with him. Then you see him and hear him and get the full effect. And we got that with the Thrawn novels. But other questions, like, it'd be cool to see in the Empire in general, like phasing out the clones, getting actual human stormtroopers, it's like that process. And then, I'm always interested to see stories that kind of teach you about how the galaxy is operating, in this era. This is brand new. This is beginning of the Empire. So how is it changing things? And I think that could be a cool, those could be cool stories about like the rise of a fascist government, so it's like a lot of really big topics that this show could cover. And that would be interesting. And it's like Bloodline. Like I love reading Bloodline because it showed how the New Republic actually isn't doing a good job, controlling the galaxy. There's still a lot of crime and crime syndicates out there. So I would like to see almost like the opposite side with the Empire. It's like the Empire is doing a good job of controlling, but with the cost. So that would be cool. That'd be kind of cool to see from a different perspective. That is, through the eyes of the Bad Batch.
Yeah, the whole Palpatine thing is getting me more and more interested. Like it's
yeah.
Like, I mean, he keeps the Senate around for 19 years. I mean, he doesn't dissolve the thing until episode 4.
Yeah.
It's just, how does he, I'm interested in how does he address like you said, because we do hear stories through some of these novels and stuff that, especially the Thrawn novel, where, and the book, I think the Lords of the Sith book with him and Vader, like they very much try to hide Palpatine, from the public but then he's there in front of the Senate still, governing, I guess, in a sense.
I mean, Mas Amedda does a lot too.
Well, you're right. Yeah,
I think Mas Amedda does a lot of public relations almost for the Empire. But he's still very much
speaking to all the politicians. And all that stuff. Yeah, right.
But that would be really cool. Yeah, and see Tarkin. See Tarkin in this, of course. We saw him in Rebels, obviously, but Krennic could appear, and it's like that is if they go heavy into the Empire route. They very well could not show a lot of the Empire. They could show it could be totally different. It could be in the corner of the galaxy where they don't have a lot of reach.
Yeah, but that is the intriguing part, and we've had that topic over the years. Is again, for 19 years he's ruled in a sense, but to a lot of people that are loyal to the Empire, they don't see Palpatine as an evil person.
Yeah, if you're in the center there, it's just like
you're very loyal to this person. I mean, they say he saved the galaxy from the corrupt Jedi.
Yeah.
And we're not going to let this guy retire ever. He's just going to sit there and rule. And again, he's not in the core worlds. You can't tell. There's no, I don't think it doesn't seem like there's just a lot of corruption going on anymore. A lot of, stormtroopers taking over. I mean, we see where in Solo, he's trying to go out and kind of take over worlds that can provide resources to the Empire, which is what is evil about it, right? But it's not the news isn't reporting probably to any of the people back in the core.
It's so funny,
It's crazy how he ruled for 19 years, and if it wasn't for Luke, he probably would have kept going.
No, totally, and those stories are it's so. it's so relevant for today, and it's like it's just so interesting. But I mean, you mentioned that deleted scene with Mon Mothma, because that could be easily rewritten and put into this show as like a current moment. Obviously, Padme wouldn't be there, so you would just have to exclude her. But like a scene like that would be really cool, and then like you see Palpatine and the Empire start to like notice like Bail or maybe Bail or Mon Mothma. They're kind of on this rebellion side of things,
So some great, I think some great extended stories there. I think we would all look to get. I think those are interesting with characters that again we know familiar with from the original trilogies and now from more so from the Clone Wars, and there's some good stuff there. I think you really couldn't. Well, again, animated you definitely would see probably a baby Leia if you went with Bail, cool. Right? Leia growing up a little bit.
And that's my optimism of Star Wars is that Filoni is not afraid to do that kind of fan servicey things, but he does it so well. He does it with such grace, and he writes the story, or he guides, or he writes, or he directs the stories so well that it works. It doesn't, at least to me, it doesn't feel fan service for the sake of fan service. But other things, it's like it's like with Solo we've been talking about, where they set up so much with Maul, Crimson Dawn, and Kira. It's like, are they gonna do more with that? Because if they don't, then the Maul cameo just feels like a cameo, and it just feels like a gimme thing. But like if they keep with that, then it could really be something pretty incredible. Really, I mean, just a true unified storyline. So
agreed.
Really cool.
Really cool. Yeah. Okay, well, that will do it for this week's episode of Inside the Force. Thanks everybody for tuning in. Go to our website, insidetheforce.com. Like we mentioned maybe about a month ago, we've transitioned everything over to Libsyn. So there is a Libsyn site, but everything, we're in the process of making sure all those episodes get back to our website. So, but of course, it should not have affected any of your podcast apps. But we got a new host, and it's working out pretty well, I think. But go to our website. You can get all of our content right there. YouTube.com/Inside the Force. Check out all those new series coming out. Get that subscribe button. We will be putting those up pretty often. And other than that, thanks everybody. Hope everybody has a great week. Some announcements hopefully coming, and more Star Wars talks as the year goes on. Stay safe out of there. For Casey Cooley.
Goodbye, everybody.
I'm David Cottingham. May the Force be with you.